There are a few type of zakat, which is zakat fitrah. Zakat fitrah ni, zakat fitrah is just paid during Ramadan. It just started early Ramadan and it will end up before Eid prayer of Ramadan, Eid prayer. Okay, there are no people paying zakat fitrah in another month of Ramadan. No, zakat fitrah is just valid to be paid during Ramadan only. Okay, and another one is a zakat on wealth. Zakat on wealth also is a compulsory to be paid by the Muslim, and it's going to be paid by 2.5% of property that have been owned by some Muslim more than 1 year, or the property must qualify with a certain condition, which is it must reach to the proper how. Means the minimum period that the property must be owned by some Muslim. Okay, if the property just been owned by the Muslim less than 1 year, means that the property does not meet the howl. Howl means the minimum period that should be owned by the Muslim for that property. How much that need to be paid? By 2.5%. Okay, by 2.5%. So it refers to zakat on wealth. Zakat on income also 2.5%. And it still need to be considered whether it's reached with the proper how or nisab. Okay, I'm forgot to mention about nisab for the last type of zakat. Nisab also is the compulsory to be considered, and you need to understand nisab is the threshold. Okay, threshold that we need to consider whether the property or income or saving that we have owned at that time are exceed than the nisab level or not. Nisab nisab at this time is equivalent to 85 gram of gold. Okay, so you just need to multiply having 85 gram of gold multiply with the current price of gold. Is it the nisab value more than that the property that you have owned, or less than that the property that you have owned? If the property or if the saving that you have owned at that time more than nisab value, means that the saving money, the money that you have saved in your bank account, also will be subjected to zakat. And also again, you need to be remember, even the money that have been exceed by nisab, the nisab level, you also need to consider whether how long you own that money. Okay, how long you own that money. If you just own that money less than 1 year, which is not reached its maturity. Okay, in accounting we call them as a maturity, and in Arab we call them as a how, which is if the money just owned by you less than 1 year, so the money will not subject to zakat, even the money have exceeding the nisab level. Okay, okay. Now we are talking about zakat on share. Okay, next, zakat on share. Zakat on share also are compulsory to be paid by the Muslim. Okay, if you notice, nowadays we are having close to 1,000 of Shariah counters in Bursa, Malaysia. Okay, and everybody can subscribe, and everybody can buy shares as a shareholders in the capital market. You need to identify and you need to be really consider whether the zakat of that business has been paid by the managers, or it not being paid by the managers, and it will become your obligation to pay on your own part. Okay, because the regulation on zakat accounting system, even for public listed companies, until now are still not fully standardized. What I mean here is even their Sharia counter class, even their Sharia counters, not all of them have paid zakat. Not all of them. You need to remember that. Even you subscribe, even you put your money in some Sharia counters in Bursa Malaysia, you need to check the annual report whether the company have paid their zakat for their business income, or if you just notice the company didn't pay their zakat on their business income, it will be your obligation to pay on your own part. And you need to make sure you already subscribe their share more than 1 year. If you just subscribe their share for 1 month or 1 day or a few months, it's still not subject to zakat. Okay? Okay, it's very important to understand on zakat on share. Zakat on share is a very famous to be asked in the final exam questions. Okay, another part of zakat is zakat on EPF. The zakat on EPF also will be subject to zakat whenever the amount of EPF just exceeding the nisab level. And EPF normally will be held by the subscriber more than 1 year. Okay, so that they will reach for certain amounts, and the certain amount of EPF money will normally exceed with the nisab level. So you also need to pay on zakat on EPF whenever you try to withdraw your EPF money later on. Okay, and what else? Zakat on agriculture. Zakat on agriculture is also compulsory to be paid by the Muslim. Zakat on agriculture is also compulsory to be paid by the Muslim. It still need to be considered as the plants must be exceed the nisab. The plants or the crops must be exceed the nisab. So if you just plant a few pieces of vegetable trees, so you still not subject to zakat. So you must estimate the value of the agriculture project that you have engaged must be exceed to the nisab level. Let's say you just engage in one farming project, and the value of the project is 1 million, and the nisab at that time is 50,000. So the value of the project already exceed with the nisab value. So it must subject to zakat on crop. Okay? Hello? Hello? Dengar tak?
Dengar.
Okay. And there are a few types of zakat, which is a zakat on takaful, zakat on livestock, and maybe this thing we are going to discuss again during your presentation after this. I think that's all, just a bit introduction on zakat. So I just want to recap the main point on this particular chapter is you need to know what is the nisab, and you need to know what is how, and you need to know also what is the condition of a certain property that need to be zakatable. Okay, these 3 points are very important to be clearly understood for this particular chapter. Okay, so now I just pass this session to the presenters, so presenters can come to the screen and share their thoughts.
Can, Doctor. Okay, wait. Okay. Sekejap. Uish. Hi. Can you see? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we are listening to you, Hamid.
Wait. I share again. Can see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Today we are going to present about zakat system. First, conditions on zakat and type of zakat. Zakat is the third pillar of Islam. It enables us to purify our wealth and fulfill a compulsory act of worship. Several conditions must be fulfilled before zakat is due. These conditions are necessary as zakat can only be applied on those who are of legal age and who own enough assets. First, Islam. Zakat is not accepted from unbelievers in Islam because it is a financial worship which brings a Muslim closer to Allah. No worship is acceptable from an unbeliever until he or she embraces Islam. Second is freedom. No zakat is taken from slaves. Third is ownership. True and settled ownership of the threshold of zakat in excess of a person's necessities, such as food, clothes, and residence. And last is year, the turn of a full lunar year after the ownership of the threshold of zakat. Next is type of zakat. First is zakat al-fitr or zakat fitrah. It is compulsory on every Muslim, not subjected to nisab or haul. The rate between 5 ringgit to 7 ringgit per person based on state. Payable from the first day of Ramadan until before the Eid Fitri prayer. And last, the best is on in the eve of Shawwal. Next is zakat al-mal or zakat from earnings. It is depends on the amount of wealth that you have and how you had it for. Your wealth has to reach its nisab, the minimum amount upon which zakat is payable, and reach its haul, 1 lunar year. And last, zakat al-mal or zakat from earning is levied only on Muslims whose wealth exceeds a threshold called nisab.
Okay, next, wealth subject to zakat. So here are some example wealth subject to and exempt from zakat. So first, wealth subject to zakat, such as gold and silver, article of merchandise and business stock, cash, bank deposits, shares, bonds, cattle, agriculture products, produce of mines. Okay, next, wealth exempt from zakat, such as platinum for personal use, diamonds, pearl, sapphires for personal use, personal clothing, boot for personal use, residential or rental properties, tools and machine of your trade, factory or shop buildings and install machinery, fixture and fittings, agricultural lands, household goods and food for the home, cars and vehicle for personal or business use. All assets owned for personal use are exempt from zakat, except cash, gold and silver, which are always subject to zakat. If a gold or silver asset is owned for personal use, is made from a mixture of metals, including gold or silver, then zakat is only payable if gold or silver form the majority of the asset. Zakat on wealth is similar to the income tax paid annually to the national government in most countries of the world. However, zakat is on wealth and tax is on income. Zakat is a fixed 2.5% of one's wealth, but income tax could range from 5% to 45% of income.
Method of calculating zakat. Each person need to pay zakat for 2.5% of their total asset. For example, Amir has a cash for 5,000 ringgit Malaysia. So how much do Amir need to pay his zakat, which we can calculate based on 5,000 times with 2.5%. So Amir only need to pay his zakat for only 125 ringgit. Just now, I have explained about the individual zakat. So for this slide, I will explain more about business zakat. For business zakat, zakat is calculated by this formula, which is zakatable asset minus with deductible liability and equals to 2.5% zakat on total. Okay, so for the zakatable asset, we know this item is gold and silver, cash and receivable, investment, pension, and also business asset. Otherwise, in deductible liability, it only include personal liability and also other liability that you have. So we need to calculate all the zakatable asset minus with deductible liability, and we need only to pay 2.5% on the total for our zakat.
Hello, I am Sixwan Ching, and next I will present about concept of wealth and its distribution from zakat aspect. Wealth is a view as an ability or a blessing from Allah, and human beings are regarded as stewards of Allah's worldly resources. It should be acquired carefully, not abused, ruined, wasted, or left either. Next, Islam compulsorily paying zakat to the needy and other charitable deeds so that wealth may be spread out in the community. Next, there are 8 categories of people who receive zakat. First, the poor means someone with low income or indigent, maksudnya tidak berkemampuan. Second, the needy meaning someone who is in difficulty. Third, zakat administration. Fourth, those whose heart to be reconciled, meaning new Muslim and friends of the Muslim community. Fifth, those in bondage. Sixth, the debt-ridden. Seventh, in the cause of God. Eighth, the wayfarer.
That's all from us. Thank you for watching. So that's all from us, Data.
Oh, Alhamdulillah, it's a very nice presentation sharing to all of us. So now I'm open to the floor for any comments and questions if you have.
I have a question. Untuk macam kalau kita untuk personal use kan kita dapat exemption kan, macam contohnya kalau orang perempuan dia pakai cincin, gelang tu untuk dia pakai setiap hari tu kan kena exemption. Kalau macam Dr. Vida tu yang 10 jari, 10 cincin emas tu macam mana ya? Yang tu kena exemption ke atau tidak?
Actually, that kind of questions, I'm not really qualified to answer that questions because it's just more on the fiqh issue, right? So I recommend you to refer that because it's just more on hukum and uh, I didn't have a good confidence to answer that questions. I'm so sorry. Siapa yang bertanya ni?
Husna.
Husna, okay. So actually, Husna, my concern on this particular chapter is just on the matters of the matters of nisab, the matters of how much that you need to pay, the matter of how you are going to pay of zakat. So the matters of when on the specific circumstances when the zakat should be zakatable, I don't think we are going to discuss it further on this chapter because we just discuss on a very surface on zakat system only, not in depth, not in depth. So it's a very good issue raised by Husna. So Husna just asked by now whether the jewelry that have been wear by someone for daily use, right? Daily use, right? Hello.
Yes.
Daily use ada exemption. I never thought there is exemption. I never thought there is exemption. So it just new knowledge for me. I tak segan nak cakap I tak ada ilmu untuk zakat on death. But I need to admit, so I'm not qualified to answer these questions because I think it must be referred to a qualified ustaz because we cannot simply respond to this because otherwise it just give you a wrong understanding. Is it okay for this?
Yes. Okay, Doctor.
So I think there is someone calling. Hello. Ada lagi kan nak tanya? Bagus Husna ni, banyak emas dia. Hello. Ada lagi ke yang bertanya? I just nak to recap one more thing is regarding the zakat on agriculture class. Zakat on agriculture, kalau you maintain zakat on agriculture to agriculture crops, if you maintain that crops with human capacity, means that you hire human to maintain the crop to take care all the crops in your farms. So the zakat amount for that crops will be 5%. But if the crop just planting on their own self within your property and it just grow with a huge amount which is more than the nisab level, so the zakat rate will be 10%. Kat sini I nak bagi kefahaman ataupun nak bagi peringatan kat you. Kalau contohnya you tanam padi kan. Kalau padi yang you tanam tu you menggunakan khidmat manusia, of course lah you guna khidmat manusia kan. Tapi ada juga padi yang tumbuh sendiri. So kalau you gunakan khidmat manusia and you hire worker to plant your paddy in your own field, so the rate of zakat for that paddy must be around 5%. Okay, and if that paddy just grown up on their self without involving any human interruption, so the zakat rate will be 10%. Okay. You tak nak tanya ke kenapa berbezanya rate kat sini?
Kenapa ya doktor?
As a rational class, as a rational, Islam is a very fairly religion, and we are not simply uh, stress out the farmer from their own effort. Okay, kalau dia menggunakan effort dia sendiri, so kita tidaklah menganiaya dia. Maknanya kita tidaklah mengenakan zakat yang terlalu tinggi, contohnya. Tapi kalau padi itu tumbuh sendiri, maknanya tanpa usaha dia di dalam kawasan tanah dia, so padi yang dikeluarkan mestilah dikeluarkan dengan jumlah yang banyak untuk zakat, pembayaran zakat. Faham tak? So kat sini I nak bagi I nak cuba bagi tahu kat you cuba imagine something that you have put your own effort, so people will really appreciate that effort too much, and people will not interrupt too much. But if that effort, if that things does not involve any effort, so people will not appreciate too much. Whenever people not appreciate too much, so you are going to pay more than what you expect. But that words is just a layman interpretation lah. Faham tak? No. So untuk next week, we are going to have a midterm test for chapter 1 until chapter 5. And you are going to have your midterm test in the same time for Tuesday group, right? For Tuesday group, and I think you need to discuss with Faris whether you can join on Tuesday group, and Tuesday group can join your group on Thursday. Okay? Otherwise, we need to make it on the weekend juga. Okay? Sebab nanti, I takut nanti ada yang clash lah, apalah. Kan? Ada clash tak kalau masuk dalam group Selasa next week?
Ada. Selasa petang ada tak?
Selasa petang. Ada ya?
Ada.
Oh, okay. So if that's so you just have a discuss with Faris to get a proper date and proper time so that everyone can join this midterm test. Okay? Boleh nanti Amir tolong bagi tahu Faris
Okay, boleh.
Okay. So I think that's all for today. So inshallah we are going to meet again next week, and see you again, and take care yourself. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Teh.
Thank you.